I'm recording a quick little video on what I do in order to access data for my students. When we're looking at how are students doing in certain areas, how did they perform, let's say specifically on a unit test, what I'll do is I'll go into Aware, and once I'm in Aware, just on the home screen, you'll go to Quick Views. And then from Quick Views, you want to start off with years. That's how I start. Typically, I'll just pick the year I'm in, but since I don't have a lot of data yet this year, I'll go ahead and look at last year's 23-24, and you push Apply. And then it will populate some tests, but I still need to narrow it down. So I'll go ahead and go into, in this case, subjects, language arts and reading, and apply. And then that narrows it down as well. And then you have an option of if you want to pick just a specific grade. Since I'm going to be looking at sixth grade, last year's sixth graders, current seventh graders, I'm going to leave that alone for now. I'm going to go ahead and click test types, and you can look at MAP scores, STAR test. You can also look at any of the campus local assessments that you might have given. But most of the time, I just go to the campus common assessments, which would be our CCAs, which is also known as our unit test. And I'll push apply, and it will populate the unit test that these students have taken. And if I go look, I want to just probably click on a Unit 2 CCA, and then I'm going to see, it looks like they had a content support CCA last year. So I'm going to break that down. And so now I have these two tests that I picked over here, selected assessments, and I have some choices to make. If I want to see these side by side, I'll just leave it alone. Or if I want to see them summarized, as in one summary of the total, how they did all together, I could say summarize. And so that would, and then I also have a choice. I could look at student scores, or what I really like to do when I'm looking at how students are doing on their particular learning standards, I'll say student learning standard breakdown, and then I'll say apply. And it'll take a minute to populate depending on how many tests you choose. And so you end up with a list by students, and it has quite a bit of detail. And this particular list has both tests side by side, so content support plus the on level. But I typically don't look at student at this stage. I will sometimes just look at particular courses or teachers, and then I can just break it down most of the time. So I can just look at a teacher's individual breakdown on scores, which is useful when a teacher is trying to see how their students did. And then you can move on to what I use a lot is the campus view. So I can see overall how many students tested, what were their percentages breakdown by TEK for each of the tests. And then what I really like to look at would be the overall percent score of those students who passed. So 85%, no, so it was the percent of the test. 85.39 is the average score of that test altogether. I had 88% approach, 75% meets, and 43% masters. And then over here on my content support group, I had a 68% overall score, 54% approach, 29 meets, and then 13% masters. So that's how we break down and look at the different details. And you can, of course, see your special ed students, and then your emergent bilinguals, how many years they've been monitored, your different economic disadvantage, and your subplots. And if you want to just see, if you want to clean this up and not have all of this information, and you just want to break it down just by all of the students together, you can go up to edit. And with edit, you can go to summarize, and you can look at what you with ethnicity, emergent bilingual, economic disadvantage, special ed indicators. Well, I can say clear, and it will get rid of all of those just for now. and I can say update. And then once I do that, I have a pretty clear, easy to see breakdown of learning standards, how they did. And makes it easy for us to see what were our strongest TEKS and then what would be our lowest TEKS in these particular areas. And same thing for our content support. Now, if I wanted these summarized together, I could have pushed that summarize and it would average these together, or I left it alone and I see the test individually. And it's really easy to see, like this learning standard 6.9b. I would look that up and figure out, okay, what was that question? How was it worded? Same thing for 6.8 D point I. So, and 6.5. So I can really easily see the standards that my students need help with. And the question is, so now what? And that would be a next piece of the puzzle. And if you need help with this ever, let me know, and I'm happy to share what I know.